Good evening, Motor Valley. Here we go again for our last appointment after these two very intensive days. We have been visiting the main museums of the Motor Valley. We are now in San Cesario sul Panaro. But before we start this last tour, I would like to remind you that you can find all the videos we have filmed, not only the live streamings in the museums, but also other videos on motorvalleyfest.it.
And as usual, if you are watching us from abroad, remember that you're going to find all these videos with the English translation in a few days. Quindi, cominciamo.
So let's start our visit, our virtual tour. You can see here one of the beauties we are going to explore, we are going to appreciate in this visit. But you probably don't imagine who is going to lead us through this beautiful experience. I give you Orazio Pagani. Many thanks for having us here today. It's a pleasure. We can't wait to start this travel together with a very exceptional guide. Thank you and welcome. Today we are going to visit this gallery. It's going to be a short tour, but anyways, this project started some years ago. Our target was to show people the things we have been building and constructing in these last few years. Here you find yourself in a small cinema. In this room we try to tell our brief adventure. Have a nice anecdote. I remember that when we started to build this gallery, when we decided to create this museum, actually I didn't realize that it was going to be called Museum Pagani. And then the day of the opening arrived, and I saw the word museum on the building. And I remembered that I was talking once with Mr. Dallara, Giampaolo Dallara. And I remember that I told him, Giampaolo, you did many things in your life. You should create a museum. And he replied, museums are made for the dead. So when I saw the word museum on my building, I thought, oh my God, and I remembered what Giampaolo told me back in that time. Well, apart from this, here we tried to reproduce my workshop back in Argentina. I started when I was very young. I started to construct and to manufacture cars. And I remember that that room in which I was working was 8 by 10 meters, so it was not a very big space. But inside of it, I managed to construct different things. Argentina was not the proper place, the proper country to construct and to work in race cars. I did this Argentinian Formula 2, which was the equivalent of the European Formula 3. This was the main category in Argentina of open cars. So I decided to start this adventure with a small group of friends. They helped me out after dinner working on the main category, and it took to me about 1.5 years. I had to design it after dinner because in the daytime I had to work and I had to earn some money to earn my living. And then it took me a further year to design the single part, the engine. So everything was done in this workshop I had. I decided to keep this memory and I really care about it. This is the brake caliper. As in that period, Argentina was not importing anything from abroad. It was a very hard time. Usually we used to buy brakes, braking system from Europe or from England. So we couldn't import in that time, and I decided to construct my own brakes. And then I also decided to assemble it in the car. I was convinced that I was a sort of Brembo. So I was not humble at all. And in fact, this braking system didn't work. I assembled it on the car, but the car didn't brake. And I keep this braking system, this caliper with me to remember that everyone, that we should be attentive to what we do. We should be humble all the time. And in fact, then I had to replace that braking system because the car, as I told you, didn't brake. How old were you when you did that design? When I designed this car, I was 21 years old. It took me 1.5 years. Then the car was presented, was launched in 1978. I was 23 back in that time.
Mentre andiamo avanti ho visto un ritratto di
I
Leonardo, una
saw
figura che
a
so che l'ha
picture
ispirato nei
of
suoi
Leonardo da
lavori.
Vinci. I know that you draw a lot of inspiration from Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, you're right. I've discovered Leonardo. I discovered who Leonardo was when I was reading a magazine, and I perfectly remember this sentence, this quote from him: "Art and science can go hand in hand." Well, by reading this sentence, I decided what I wanted to do in my life because I loved design, I loved art, I loved artistic subjects, but I was also curious about scientific subjects. So Leonardo inspired me both in one field and in the other. Here you can see some scale models that I prepared when I was a kid. I really care about two of them. The green one is from 1967, when I had finished the primary school. When I had completed my studies, I did that scale model in November. This one is from 1968, 1 year later. One of my colleagues has now scanned these two models and he has designed the two models keeping the proportions. The scale is 1 to 5. Our target is to make also a 1 to 1 scale to see how it looks. We have so many material here because I didn't want to throw anything away. I liked the idea of keeping all these things with me, like block notes, sorry, and my eyeglasses there. I kept everything with me so that I could put all these objects in this museum. I also keep things of the period in which I've been working for Lamborghini. So everything we do in Pagani is kept. Every car has a personal book telling its history, telling its stories. And this is positive because maybe in the future a client will buy this car and will have this book in which he or she can read how that car was constructed. I think this is a way to respect our clients. This car you see here is called, well, we call it the grandmother. This is the first functioning car we manufactured in 1997. Thanks to this car, we could make any sort of test, and also the type approval. As we didn't have much money, this car was born as 450 horsepower. The name was Sonda C12. So we have carried out the whole car development and we presented it in Geneva in 1999. Out of this car, we have manufactured the version S with the 7.0 engine and then the S with the 7.3 engine. Then we created the version 5 and version 760. We did everything on that car, on that very chassis. Today, this car has retired and it has 550,000 kilometers. The chassis and the suspensions are still the same. When I turned 60, my colleagues had a marvelous idea because they decided to restore it. They took the last version, they restored it, and they gave it to me as a gift. And now this car is here, available for all the future visitors of the museum. Here you can appreciate some models, some scale models from the period in which I was working in Lamborghini. It was a fantastic time. I really have to admit that I owe a lot to Lamborghini. It was a special time. I learned so many things. And these were studies for the project of the P140. With the passage of time, this P140 has become the Gallardo. This project was aimed at the Countach's successor. Here you can see a further interesting car. This car set the record of Nürburgring, and then it was selected as the performance car of the year. It is a Sonda S7.3. It has some modifications, and thanks to this car, we could test a whole range of components and of solutions. We brought these solutions, we implemented these solutions in this Sonda F. This is the first Sonda F we manufactured. It is a very special car because it set the record of the Nürburgring, and it was awarded with several prizes. We sold this car with 10,000 kilometers, and then we rebought the car from the client. The client had used the car a lot, for more than 100,000 kilometers. In fact, now the car has 118,000 kilometers. But the client had placed a film over the car, so when we removed the film, the car was still perfect, like brand new. And the client gave us the car back like this. The interior status is still perfect. Even if you use it a lot, it looks like new. And you say that this car is from, well, this was manufactured in 2005. This is the Sonda F, and I think, well, F stands for Fangio. I think this is the car of our turning point. Pagani was 6 years old. At the beginning, everything was like a big adventure for us, and the world of supercar, with its arrival, started to send and to send many cars and to create many initiatives. We had good initiatives, but we were a small company, and we didn't have much money to carry those initiatives on. Actually, nobody at the beginning wanted to invest on us and to trust us. But anyways, the orange one is the Sonda F, the roadster, and we created 23 models of this car, while for the Sonda F, we created 25 models. This is probably one of the most iconic cars for those people who love our kind of products, our brand. This is the Roadster 5. A very bad article had been written about this car, because one day we gave this car to a journalist. This journalist was visiting Italy, and back in that time we were still developing this car. It was a work in progress, so we asked the journalist to remember that the car was not completed. We gave him the cars just to let him feel the sound, just to let him hear the sound. But anyways, nevertheless, he wrote a very bad and negative article on this specific car. And he wrote this article in the Evo magazine. The owner of the magazine, Harry McAuliffe, read the article and wondered, why did my journalist write something like this? I can't believe this car is such a disaster. This is what he said. Then there was a rally one day, a sort of convention, and one client had this car, this Pagani. So this client gave the journalist his own car, and he told him, "Take your time, drive around." Well, the journalist just fell in love with this car, and from that moment onwards, the passion for this car started to grow and grow day by day. Back in that time, the cost of the car was 1.3 millions, and today the cost is about, I think, more than 10 millions. And the owners of this car can't now sell it because nobody would buy it. So it has become a very desired object, a very desired vehicle. I have to step back because I would like to tell you the story of this man. This is Dieter Secce. This man has been very important to us for the history of Pagani. He went to Argentina to work when he was very young. He went with Fangio, and they had a very, very good rapport. When I talked to Fangio about my projects, about my dream of designing a car, Fangio told me, I'm going to give you the contact of a young man who worked in Argentina in Mercedes together with me. So I personally met Dieter Secce in Geneva in 1993 because I wanted to explain him my project. So during that meeting, I showed him the pictures of the model of the car. Actually, the model was small, but pictures were so well taken that it looked like a real car, real dimensions, real size. So Dieter looked at the pictures and he said, "It looks like a timeless car." And I replied, hopefully it is a timeless car because I have no money and I will need a long time to project and to design this car. This is what I replied him in that occasion. And then 1 month later, I received a letter from Mercedes in which they stated that they were about to give us an engine to manufacture that car. So it was 1993. We presented the car in 1999, 6 years later. I've never been sure until 1998 that I was going to receive further engines for the rest of the cars. They just gave us the base of of an engine. It was a demolished engine. Maybe it came from a test bench. Maybe it had been used on test benches. We restored this engine. We assembled the exhaust system of a Sonda F. But actually, that was the only engine we received from Mercedes, and it was a non-functioning engine. So what do we have here? We have a Sonda R. It is a very interesting vehicle because we manufactured it in the worst time of our economy, 2008 and 2009, during the downturn. We didn't expect clients, we didn't expect that clients were going to buy this race car because this car is not type approved. It can circulate, it can run on the road. So we presented this car, this white model, and we presented it at the motor show of Geneva. We presented the white model and the engine, and we said, okay, if we are going to sell at least four of this car, uh, we are quite lucky. But unexpectedly, we sold 10 of them. And another prototype of this same car set the record in Nürburgring. The time was really good. Only in 2 laps, the racer was really, really good. While this car here, has 0 kilometers. The story of this car is really, really funny because the client didn't want the engine to be assembled on the car, so the engine was in a box. It has always been in a box, and we have never assembled the engine on the car. We have never driven this car on the road. So 0 kilometers. Here you can see different models of the Huayra project. Huayra project was born in 2003. It lasted till 2011 when we presented the car in Geneva in 2011, and we built a dozen scale models and the two models on a one-to-one scale. We keep every model and also other renderings and drawings.
Questa invece è la prima guaira. Questa è la guaira che abbiamo presentato
This is the first
in
Guaira,
Pirelli
the one we presented in
appunto
Pirelli
nel 2011, la presentazione privata che
back in
abbiamo fatto prima
2011
del
in a
Salone di
private
Ginevra.
event, a private presentation we gave
La
before
guaira è stata una
the
sfida
Geneva
enorme
Motor Show.
perché aveva
Guaira was a big
moltissima
challenge for
innovazione
us
e per
because there
un'azienda
was
piccola
a
come la
lot of
nostra
innovation in this
lo
project.
sforzo che abbiamo
And
fatto
for a small
per
company
portare
like
avanti questo
ours,
progetto è stato
it
realmente
has been
tanto.
a very big
Il
effort.
motore
It was
biturbo,
a real sacrifice for us.
motore grande, motore biturbo,
The
che
B-turbo
richiedeva
engine
tutta una
is a
serie
big one,
di
and
specifiche
it
per evitare
required
l'effetto turbola, che devo
a
dire
lot of
che
attention to avoid
ENG è
undesired
stata
effects.
fantastica nel affrontare e risolvere questi problemi. Poi
A
questa è la
wonderful
prima
job
macchina
was
dal
made on this
motore
car to avoid
creato
any kind
esclusivamente
of
per noi,
undesired
per il
effect.
motore
This
1158,
car has a
la
engine,
macchina
the
ha l'ago
158, that
dinamica
was
attiva
created
e anche
specifically for
collegato alle
us.
sospensioni
It
attive
has
con
the
quattro
active
flap
aerodynamic, it is connected to the
triangoli
active
che si
suspensions, it
muovono
has four
indipendentemente
flaps in every corner,
e insieme
moving
alla
autonomously,
sospensione anteriore che si muove a
and
seconda
also
insomma
it
della
has
velocità e
a front suspension moving and working
quello
according
che sta
to
facendo
the change in
la
speed
vettura.
or the change in the driving
Ci
style.
sono disegni, sì. Adesso entriamo
Here you can see more
nella
drawings, more designs,
questa galleria
and now
dove
we are
adesso
about to
ho
access this
messo
gallery. By this
l'area di
gallery, we
montaggio.
reach the
Si
assembly
intravede anche
area.
qualcosina da queste feritoie. Diciamo che questo è stato
This is
fatto
the
anche
finishing area,
pensando
and I think that it is very interesting because when the
a far
client
vedere il
arrives,
cliente la sua
they can
macchina
see their new
quando
car looking through these windows. So I think this is a
quando
very
l'auto
emotional sight, a
è
very emotional
finita.
moment.
Dicevo, questa è la zona della finizione, però è anche interessante quando arriva il cliente farle vedere la macchina attraverso queste finestre, è un po', insomma, genera un pochettino di emozione. Prego. Grazie. E qui entriamo
We are now
nel cuore
accessing
del suo
your
atelier.
studio, aren't we?
Qui abbiamo cercato di ricreare
Yes,
la
we
piazza
tried to
italiana.
reproduce here the typical
Perché?
Italian
Perché a noi
square.
ci piace, italiani ci
Why?
piace
Because we are
stare in
Italian and we
piazza,
love to
al
be
bar,
downtown, we love to be in a
allora
square, we
abbiamo
love to go to the bar.
appunto cercato di creare un
That's
ambiente
why we
più
decided to
così
reproduce a sort of
confortevole il
familiar,
meno possibile,
intimate,
addirittura
and
c'è anche
comfortable
la torre
environment, an
con
atmosphere. We
l'orologio
also built a
e
tower with a clock.
magari saliamo la scala così possiamo
We
dall'alto
can go
vedere.
upstairs so to have a broader view
Tutto
on this
questo
assembly
percorso
area.
si fa durante le
This is
visite
the
sia
itinerary
alla
made by the
galleria che
visitors
sia
when they come here to
dalla
visit
fabbrica
both the
dove si
gallery
può
and the museum and
ancora vedere
the
come si costruisce
factory.
una macchina con le
In our
mani.
factory,
E
you can
questo
still see
ormai
how
è un
to
fatto
create,
un
how to
po'
manufacture
raro,
a car
diciamo così,
with your
vedere
own
tutti
hands.
questi bravissimi
It is very rare.
artigiani,
It is a very rare
donne e
occasion
uomini.
to see
E qui ci
craftsmen,
sono
both men and
tantissime
women,
donne
working
che
manually
lavorano
on these
nella
lines.
costruzione delle parti in materiali
Here
compositi,
we
in
have many
carbonio.
women working on the construction of
Più o meno
composite
quante
material
auto
like
vengono
carbon,
prodotte
for
qui ogni
example.
anno? Noi
How many
facciamo circa
cars
una
do you
macchina alla
manufacture per
settimana,
year? We create
perciò
one car per week, so I would say
45-50
from
macchine
45 to 50
all'anno.
cars per
Allora,
year.
eh,
What else?
là
Well,
sopra,
there
nel
you can
piano
see
alto,
upstairs
c'è il reparto di
the
materiali
area of
compositi,
composite
quello che si chiama la
material,
clean
what we
room, cioè
call the
dove
clean room.
lavorano
In
i
that
materiali
area,
compositi. E lì,
people
ripeto,
and
ci sono
workers who work
parecchie
on
donne che fanno
composite
questi,
material.
fanno
There are
anche il
many women
telaio delle
working there.
macchine, no?
They
Perché
focus
l'evento di
on
composite è
chassis.
portato
The arrival of
appunto anche a
composite
questo, cioè
material
che una
uh,
donna può costruire
brought
un
these
particolare di
facts.
una
The fact that
macchina
women are now able to work on specific components of cars and also specific components of F1. This is the assembly area. And behind you can see the pre-assembly area, according to the components, according to the interior, and according to the car body. Step by step, all the components are assembled and then are brought to this first working station. Already in the first working station, everything is assembled and the engine is started and checked. Then the car is moved, so to assemble the car body, and then the car is sent to the testing area. There you can see the first Wayra roster BC. This is the car we were supposed to present in Geneva Motor Show this year. And you also have an interesting story about this car because you didn't have to plan this car. The construction of this car was not planned. No, actually, it wasn't. We had to switch from the original roster to C10. Then we started to receive many requests, and at the end of the day, this strong desire by the client brought us to create this car. This is the first car with a Pagani V12 engine on it. It is 100% ours. It is 100% our engine. When you come here for a visit, you can easily go through the rest of the areas on the other side of the building where the composite material are created and are worked and processed. A very interesting thing is the fact that you can see how a craftsman is able to do his handwork and to manually create a car. Here are some memories. In this picture, you can see Fangio when he visited us with his sons and daughters when they were children. Fangio is a beautiful person. He really helped us a lot, and we drew a lot of inspiration from him. He was a motivator for us. Thank you, Orazio. It was a pleasure being here with you, and we strongly and warmly invite all our followers to visit this place. It is a very emotional site. All the world envies us this place. So thanks again. You can find this video, as the rest of the videos, in the website motorvalleyfest.it. So thanks and bye bye.